No doubt.
Yeah, that's correct.
Oh, that's funny. Spelled the same way. I'll have to tell Rob.
Rob has been paying her.
Yeah, well, that's I'm worried.
$20 a month or a week. Good, right?
I wonder if people do set up fake names using other people's names in case they screw it.
Well, if you're putting it through somebody that you don't know and ask to sue, are you sure you want to do this? Is this really the person that you're?
I'm sure you must have, yeah.
Make sure. Yeah.
Full name, Phil McCracken.
This is what I sent.
I got the butt dial.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
You can print all the names as long as they live in the city and they're registered.
Right.
Check with, is there a Phil McCracken?
I mentioned that too, sorry. I took your, you can.
That was Maryland. Yeah.
Oh, you're doing fine.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is 7 o'clock, and before I call the Lexington City Council meeting to order, I will advise the overflowing crowd this evening that we do have a sign-up sheet, and if you care to speak this evening, you may sign in, or again, with the overflowing crowd, we'll just call on you when the time comes for opportunities to speak to council. I'd like to call the meeting to order, and the first item, if you all will please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all very much. Next item is consideration of the agenda. I do have an item I'd like to add under presentations, recognition for the city manager. And I believe we have a closed session for the city attorney's got a message or some insights for us relative to policies and procedures. And that'll be detailed in the closed session piece. Do we have that, Janie? Marilyn's got it. Okay, terrific. Thank you very much. With those two additions, are there any other items relative to the agenda? Hearing none, we will adopt the agenda, approve the agenda with those two additions. And with that, we'll move directly into presentations. Tonight marks the last public meeting of City Council with Jim as our city manager, scheduled to retire April 30th. And Jim, we're indebted to you significantly for the time and talents and good cheer that you've brought to our community, and more directly and personally to this council and to me individually as mayor. Your support and your acumen of operating the city has been terrific, and we're very grateful. Like to express our appreciation. I'll get you to join me up front. I'd like to offer a proclamation on behalf of council. And then we also have a couple of parting gifts. As for the proclamation, this is a proclamation recognizing the Honorable Jim Halas, City Manager of the City of Lexington, on the occasion of his retirement. Whereas the Honorable Jim Halas will retire from his position as City Manager for Lexington, Virginia on April 30, 2024. And whereas Jim was born in Michigan, the first and most favored of the 6 Halas sons, and had the good fortune to marry Deb. And whereas Jim studied diligently at Michigan State University and the Senior Executive Institute at the University of Virginia, obtained his membership into International City Management Association, ICMA, and Virginia Local Government Management Association, VLGMA, while working in the various communities he served. And whereas Jim, over the decades, has faithfully participated in the NAACP, his church, and in Rotary International, and happily embrace their vision statement. Together, we see a world where people unite and take action to create lasting change across the globe, in our community, and in ourselves. And whereas Jim has successfully worked with this city council through effective communication, contacting council at all hours of the day for urgent messages, early morning butt dials on his runs through the city streets, positive professional services, as Jim escorted council members to conferences and meetings utilizing the police cruiser. Folks in the back seat had to rely on the chauffeur to open the doors. All accessibility, Jim would meet council wherever necessary, either for a meal, a shared volunteer effort, or a casual beer. And whereas Jim is a true professional and dedicated leader in the city of Lexington and throughout our entire community and the Commonwealth of Virginia, dutifully and faithfully serving the citizens of our community for the past 5 years. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Frank Friedman, Mayor of the great city of Lexington, with the support of the Lexington City Council, and by virtue of the laws of the Commonwealth of Virginia, do hereby proclaim April 30, 2024 as Jim and Deb Halas Day. I invite all friends and family assembled here and listening on Zoom to celebrate and to pause to recognize your achievement of service to our community. Also, I offer sincere congratulations and best wishes for a happy, healthy, long, and productive retirement. Adopted this 18th day of April, 2024. Jim, thank you, and congratulations on your pending retirement.
Yeah.
My pleasure on behalf of council to present you with a beautiful picture for you and Deb. You may want to hang it in your new kitchen or somewhere in your home. But wait, there's more. A downtown gift certificate so that you can take your wife to dinner on the night in a restaurant of her choice.
I appreciate both of those gifts and also the wonderful words, and especially that you did note that it's the great city of Lexington, which is very true. And it's because of so many great people in this community and the wonderful city council staff that I've had the opportunity to work with over the years. Our partners, VMI, Washington Lee, Rockbridge County, City of Buena Vista, and many more businesses and organizations in this community. I think I mentioned city staff. They are fantastic folks. And if I had any small successes here in the community, it's because of the number of wonderful people that I've worked with and who've supported me. And the really special attribute or gift that gift you mentioned is the picture of Lexington, because Deb and I have a picture of virtually every community we've lived in. And so we were talking recently, we don't have one of Lexington yet. So this is it. And I'm not sure where we will put it in our home, but it will have a place where it's seen by all of our guests and friends as they visit. So thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, council members. Thank you, council member Dennis Ayers and Michelle Hens, who are not with us tonight, but it was also wonderful working with them over the years that I've been here. Thank you.
Let's change students with your proclamation here and council in the background there. Yeah.
I want to block you.
Yeah.
Big smile.
That there. Get your head in between. It's just a photo bomb. It's right in between.
Turn that around.
And I welcome council members, anyone that would like to pile on, please do so.
I'd just like to say thanks, Jim, for the wonderful service that you've given to Lexington. And I can say, from even before I started on council, where you took me around to meet everybody and, the local departments, that was super helpful, as a new council member to help me hit the ground running, after I had been elected. And, you just do a wonderful job, and we're going to be sad to see you go.
Jim, it's been an honor and a privilege to work with you, to collaborate on projects with you. And during your time here, to think about it, you've led us through some of the best of times and some of the worst of times. You led with dignity, respect, and honesty. You can't ask for more than that. Your passion for a greater Lexington has been second to none. You have been a rock star. And so if you get tired of retirement and start a job search, I'd be happy to give you a glowing reference.
All right, I'll step up. Thanks for filling the gap between two Wisconsinites. Tom Carroll is coming on board and John Allistad, and continuing that Midwestern, you know what I'm talking about. But when you came in and COVID landed on our front door, it took a lot of guts and leadership to get us through that. And I wanted to thank you for leading that charge and getting us through that as successfully as you did, along with council and staff. It was a group team effort, but it needed a guy at the helm to make sure we stayed on course. So that's my one thought of appreciation among many, but I'll just leave that one on your desk. Thank you.
Mr. Alligan.
Thank you for your service. And one of the things that I have been informed by some of my constituents is that you've done a fabulous job, and I concur, in keeping the trains running on time. And city is better off. Thank you very much.
I'll be brief. I hope, Jim, I hope you know how I feel about you. I appreciate the guidance, the honest advice that you've given all of council, myself included, many times. I really appreciate the way that you have conducted yourself through multiple challenges that our city has faced, dealing with multiple constituents. You're a true professional. You stepped up and you served Lexington, just like Marilyn said. I think it was your third month, your fourth month on the job. You handed us the budget binder. We had a work session, and then the world kind of came to a screeching halt within about a week back in 2020, March 2020. That was unbelievable. So I wish you good luck in your retirement. And I think it should be it should be noted, it was pointed out to me today that during your tenure as city manager, in addition to the city of Lexington, you always put city employees first, and you kept them in front of city council, whether it was the fire department, the police department, city hall, or especially public works. You implemented the salary study. I think everyone always sees the couple percent that we're able to give in the annual budget process, but you implemented the salary study that I think made a difference in a lot of people's lives. And I think this council is appreciative to you for doing that. So thank you for always prioritizing city staff, because Lexington is nothing without them.
I too want to thank you. The council chose you unanimously for your steady, calm, experienced leadership, and you always delivered on that. You were the person we needed at this time. I don't know that anybody could have managed us through COVID and the other crises that we've had to weather during your tenure, and you've done a fantastic job. I am looking forward to seeing how you spend your retirement. I'm very glad that you and Deb are staying in the area, and all of us who know Jim knows he does not sit still. So it'll be interesting to see how you fill that. I remember one of the first times I met you in your office, and you had a beautiful lemon tree in your office. And it's tough to grow lemons, especially indoors. And he gave me a handful of lemons on the way out, which were very good, by the way. So I'm looking forward to seeing your garden and more of the foods that you and Deb both make. It's always a treat to get little gifts from y'all during the holidays. But I'm glad y'all are staying here and are definitely still part of the community. But thank you for everything you've done for us.
Sure, he has on his list shoveling snow when it comes back again at some point in the future for those that are unable to clear theirs. Thank you, council. I anticipate there's some members of the community who'd like to speak, and now be a lovely time if you want to, Dallas, you want to come forward? Mr. Mayor and members of the council. I'm Dallas Clark and I work at VMI. I'm here tonight representing the superintendent and the Corps of Cadets and in a simple offer and a simple gesture of also our appreciation, sir, for your service to the Institute. VMI functions and does a lot of things that are really fun and we do them really well, but it requires us to reside in a community, in a city. It requires the provision of all of the essential services. We'd be lost without water and sewer and a whole host of other elements that are just fundamental infrastructure pieces. But beyond all that, it is the support of coming to support VMI and a host of other activities and events and the partnership. It all comes right at the front doors of the frontline staff and the relationship with the city manager and Jim. Not only are we appreciative of the service that you've rendered and the partnership that we've enjoyed and look forward to more of your participation in coming to games, you and Deb, and spending time with us, but also we put a nice feather in your cap for also taking on and hosting cadets, which for those of us who have done that, we know that's more of a tax on the grocery bill than it is anything else. So, sir, on behalf of the Corps Cadets and the Superintendent of VMI, just want to offer a small token of our appreciation. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Dallas. I say, Deb, if you want to make any comments too, how thrilled you are to have them home. Just kidding. Absolutely. Well, take them back with open arms to support the city. Thank you all very much. And Jim, the good news is this is your last public meeting, but the bad news is we still have an agenda. So we'll keep on trucking. The next public hearing and review of requests for a franchise by Brightspeed. I'll let you introduce that, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and City Council. As noted in the agenda briefing, Brightspeed is a successor of several companies that we've had here in the community already providing communication services. And as such, they have equipment and lines in our right of way. They have come to us and asked for the permit to continue work or to make improvements on this infrastructure and equipment they have. And of course, they need, in this case, a franchise in order to do that. And so they're asking that a franchise be granted to them. I will note that any franchise of this nature is not an exclusive franchise. So if it's necessary or if it's in the best interest of the city, a later franchise can be awarded to another company. And also at this juncture, if any other company is present that wants to submit a franchise, they are able to do so. I don't know, I've not been contacted by anyone indicating they are interested in a franchise at this time, but that's just a requirement of granting a franchise. And with that, I'll ask the city attorney if he wants to walk through the ordinance, which would approve this franchise and provide you any additional updates or information on the actual legal aspects of the franchise ordinance.
Thank you, Jim. The first thing is, and I think this is what Jim was getting at the end of his comment, that there is kind of an arcane procedure in the Virginia Code for how you grant a franchise, and it requires you to publicize notice in the newspaper that other bids can be offered for that franchise. I did check with Janie and confirm that no other bids were received. Not surprising, it rarely happens, but it is spelled out in the code. So I did want to address that. As for the agreement itself, what a franchise does is it allows a business such as Brightspeed to access public rights of way, access the streets, the sidewalks, parks, areas where they need to either install overhead or buried conduit or cable to deliver their service. You can have cable franchises, you can have telephone franchises. This is a telecommunications franchise that derives from their predecessor entity, which was a telephone company. This, as I understand it, is for internet. It's a 15-year franchise. Under Virginia, a city can grant a franchise up to 40 years. 15 years is not an uncommon number to allow an opportunity to see how the business develops and then give the parties an opportunity to revisit any of the terms they need to in due course. There is a franchise fee spelled out in the ordinance. These really are not about generating revenue. However, for the most part, these are about increasing competition. Again, to Jim's point about it being non-exclusive, it creates competition and creates opportunity for internet access for citizens. There are requirements for any installation to conform and comply with city rules and regulations. And if they have to break concrete or tear up a street or anything along those lines to install infrastructure in the rights of way, they have to restore it to our satisfaction. So those are the protections that we build in here to make sure that they maintain the city in its current condition when they need to install something. Happy to answer any other questions. Those are the kind of the highlights of it. I understand we do have a representative, I believe, from Brightspeed available as well. And obviously we need to conduct the public hearing as well.
Sure.
But those are my comments. Happy to answer any questions you may have about the agreement.
Questions?
I do have a question, and I kind of touched on this last time when you briefed us on it, but between now and the 15 years or however this agreement is in place, if they wanted to put additional light poles somewhere to hang the fiber, what oversight do we have for that? If we don't I know we permit it, but if we don't have a regulation in place that prohibits, like say on Main Street, they wanted to suddenly do overhead lines, how do we prevent that?
Well, any installation they want to carry out, they have to come and get a permit. And we do have a permitting process, as I understand it. But there is also a provision in here which says they'd have to have a pole attachment agreement if they wanted to attach to any existing poles, and they wouldn't have the right to install new poles. This agreement, this is about telecommunications infrastructure. Yeah, we might, through the permitting process, permit them to install poles if they needed to, but they'd have to go through that process. They wouldn't be able to do that without presenting the specific project to, then in this case would be Patrick, and he would run it through the permitting process, Patrick and Thomas, I believe.
Okay, but so even if we don't have a specific ordinance, when it talks about permit, it references an ordinance or regulation. If we don't have a specific ordinance or regulation, we still can limit it.
That's how I read it. That's how I would advise. And if for some reason there was a shortcoming in our regulations, we could even tighten them up as the process was going through. It does allow for that as well.
Okay, thank you.
Actually, I have several questions. One question I have is on section 10 annexation. Is it necessary to have that in there since there's a state moratorium on annexation?
Not necessary, but the moratorium could go away. And I actually, when I was working with their attorney, I mentioned the moratorium to him, and it just wasn't, we just decided to leave it at that point. I mean, that
No
was
big
the
deal.
gist of it. The moratorium is actually in kind of the budget bill every year, so it could theoretically go away. It's not set in stone in perpetuity.
Then I had another question about, I think somewhere in here there's they can trim trees and vegetation.
Very common provision when you have overhead lines. For example, the power company would have it as well, and their types of franchises, they need to be able to trim branches back to keep them off of the wires, keep them from damaging the wires in a storm or
Do you
something.
think there's any need for a city notification before they do that, or I don't know if that's in there about notification about trimming it?
Yeah, I don't remember if that's specifically in there. There are lots of notification provisions except in the case of an emergency. So I guess there could be a situation where they would need to trim trees in an emergency if one had fallen on it and they wouldn't have to give notice, but I think otherwise they would need to give notice.
I don't know if that was in there, but I could be wrong.
We find the notice provisions
Here. Vegetation management, section 13.
Mhm.
I don't think there's anything specifically in that
Yeah, it's
section.
not there. I was thinking there was a general notice provision, but that might, to your point, might just be about infrastructure installation as opposed to.
Do you see any issue with putting a notification provision in that paragraph potentially?
We would certainly add something to that.
And then,
Of the authority following advance notice.
yeah, just some type of notice, just in case there was some type of, I mean, I would imagine there probably wouldn't be an issue, but you never know. And then the final question I had was related to section 4, franchise fee. Is 1% pretty standard in terms of
There are different ways of calculating these. How do you define gross revenues? Some of them, David and I were talking about this beforehand, some of them are just lump sum payments up front. Some are based on gross revenues. I'm not sure there is a standard. Some are, I mean, the percentages can vary a little bit, 1, 2, 3%, but then it's what goes into the gross revenue definition.
and it looks like there is a lot of
Not
things
unheard of, for sure.
excluded from the gross revenue
Sure.
definition. So I don't know, I don't know it's a concern, but just based on the amount of things excluded from the gross revenue and definitions, I was wondering if we should maybe have, 2 or 3%, something a little higher than 1% based on the exclusions. Just a thought. That's it.
Very good. Other members of council have any questions or response to Mr. Bett's comments?
Excellent comments, Nick. Appreciate that. I asked about the gross 1%. I asked, what could it amount to? Because I remember going back 7, 8 years, Comcast, I believe, gave us a lump sum of $10,000. And they also provided us drops at multiple city facilities. And that was for 15 years. So $10,000 over 15 years, but also some drops. Brightspeed obviously doesn't like to give an estimate, I learned, on what this could amount to, but very conservatively, it might be $1,000 a year. It really depends on their traction that they get in Lexington, because the more customers that they have, I guess this could be more money, more gross revenue. Personally, the way Jeremy just kind of explained it to me is this is never about the money. It's about providing our citizens with more access and more choices. And we know that if Comcast is the only show in town, they're going to charge us $85, like a lot. And so I think this just adds to our citizens if they have Bark, if they have Comcast, if they have, or Xfinity now, Brightspeed, just more options. And so, I personally would love to get an extra %, but I think we want them to provide more access to our citizens the way I looked at it, and wouldn't want to hold up the agreement possibly. So that's how I kind of looked at it.
Thank you, Mr. Ziegler. Before we have the public hearing, Mr. Dillon, do you want to respond to anything you've heard so far?
No, Mr. Mayor, I would just like to say thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to attend virtually. I'm traveling in the morning early. We're very excited. We are a new company. We purchased the ILEC, the telephone exchange, from Lumen and CenturyLink. We are not another merged company. We purchased that. And our intent is to run fiber throughout the city, aerial as much as possible. No new poles would be installed. We're very excited to offer the most up-to-date, and it'll be a system that won't have to be improved. There'll be any improvements will be software for our lifetime. The franchise agreement in particular, the city attorney is, we agreed to all the changes that the city attorney had recommended. So the agreement you have before you is the city's recommendations, and we support it 100%. We're ready to get this done and start building immediately for your exact comments to offer competition in the market. So we're excited, and thank you very much for the opportunity to speak.
Very good. Mr. Dillon, while we have you, with your all's purchase, did you purchase the real estate that's here in Lexington as well?
I'll confirm that, but yes, sir, more than likely.
Okay. As we've in the past, our regional tourism office is located in that building as a tenant, and we've had difficulties locating someone who could talk to us about issues with the building and or lease arrangements. So if we can get a commitment from you to follow up we would realize it's not your world, but it's part of your world, and you can get us connected with the right people would be greatly appreciated.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Absolutely. The manager, congratulations on your retirement. The manager's office knows our persistence in reaching out, as well as Thomas Wagner and other on your staff. So they all have my contact information, and I'd be glad to put toward anybody in contact with our real estate.
Terrific. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, is it appropriate? I mean, Nick's good questions. We talked about the 1%, but I think the vegetation point that he talked about in section 13, Mr. Dillon, I mean, I appreciate you mentioning that you've agreed to everything pretty much that our attorney put forward. Is that something that could be appropriate and incorporated into this agreement? That because, as you know, the goodwill that Brightspeed might receive by coming into Lexington could be lost when some unfortunate trimming of vegetation occurs without notification. That's never a good look, and notification could protect Brightspeed and be to your benefit.
Thank you for that. I've not come to a place where we are the ones out there trimming trees. That is usually the electric. I mean, the electric provider is who comes in and gets the trees off the lines just because of the contact with trees to their equipment versus ours. So I haven't been involved in a situation where we've ever had to go into a municipality and trim a tree, unless, to the attorney's point, it fell on something. So we would be fine, but I don't think it's necessary. I mean, to be quite honest.
I mean, my personal opinion is I just don't think it hurts. But if it doesn't happen very often, I mean, there's notification about a lot of other stuff, and there's just no notification about that. And the council member Sigler's point, if something was trimmed, you know what I mean, that maybe, we have had other issues in the past with people being upset about things being cut, in different areas of the city. And it just might help to kind of be on the same page if y'all do happen to need to trim anything, just to say, hey, we're planning on cutting this stuff down, is that okay? Then we can say, sure, or hey, this is an area that might cause some controversy, just to kind of all be on the same page. That would be my thought on that.
And thank you. And I have no problem with the amendment as long as it doesn't slow the process down. I mean, that's something we can agree to, but we've been working on this for quite some time, and we're having a kickoff meeting next week, hopefully. So as long as it doesn't slow the process, that notification, we would have no concerns with it. Again, I worked in local government for 25 years. And I never had a telecom company trim trees. It was always electric providers who would trim trees. And they don't have to give any notice. It's their, but that's electric and not telecom. But yes, if it doesn't slow the process down, I have no problem whatsoever with that.
And it's usually a subcontractor of the electric company that zips in and zips out, damage is done. If there's a sense of council to direct the city attorney to add that language, doesn't sound like there'd be an objection from Brightspeed and wouldn't slow things down if we adopt it tonight with that language, or directing the city attorney to add that language. I have every confidence he can put in language that we're comfortable with. So I see head shaking yes. So very good. Well, while you ruminate on that, let's have the public hearing, and then we'll work towards consideration of the request. At this time, I'd like to open the public hearing for anyone who would like to speak to the review of a request for a franchise by Brightspeed. Is there anyone here this evening who would like to speak to this matter? Hearing none, I would like to close the public hearing at 7:34 and ask for council's thoughtful consideration.
Language? Yeah, with the insert of that language. Let's see. What's it?
I would suggest, if you're comfortable, directing the attorney to add the language, not necessarily to craft the language right here, right now.
Sure. Yeah, I'd make that motion to approve this with with the addition of that language as crafted by the city attorney.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? I will just regurgitate the things that you've heard. The best part of this, we're excited for a new owner who's motivated and wants to provide positive service for our community, because we are definitely underserved when it comes to internet service. So excited for your fiber to be installed and to provide greater service and options for our community. With that, I ask for a roll call vote. Mr. Betts.
Aye.
Mr. Alligood.
Aye.
Mr. Ziegler.
Aye.
Mr. Smith.
Aye.
Ms. Strawn.
Aye.
Ms. Alexander.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Mr. Dillon, thanks for being with us. I invite you to continue to spend your evening with us, but I understand if you want to move on to something else, and I hope you have safe travels tomorrow.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the approval. And again, congratulations to the manager for his retirement. And I'll be in touch. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Next item is consideration of minutes, and they were included in your packet. Unless there's an objection to approving the minutes as presented with Janie's good work. Hearing none, they are approved. Next time, citizens' remarks and comments. Is there anyone who would like to speak to council on anything that's not on the agenda? No complaints from spouses or, okay. I will close the citizens' remarks and comments at 7:36. And next item is consent agenda, and ask for council's consideration of the various items you see on your sheet.
I make a motion that we approve my summer social calendar as presented.
Second.
Have a motion and a second, and would ask for a roll call vote. Mr. Alligood.
Aye.
Mr. Smith.
Aye.
Mr. Betts.
Aye.
Ms. Strawn.
Aye.
Mr. Ziegler.
Aye.
Ms. Alexander.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. We all know where Mr. Ziegler will be this summer.
You're gonna be running a lot.
Well, more like the July 4th and the Freedom Food Festival and Juneteenth.
Got to have priorities. Next item is unfinished business and consideration of adoption of fiscal year 25 budget. And I'll see if our finance staff has comments, questions, thoughts, curios. Welcome, Jen.
Evening, thank you. And just very quickly, the only changes since the last time you have reviewed the budget are part of the capital investment plan. And what we did there is we removed the Rockbridge High School gym, but kept the bleachers. And then also under the central dispatch planned projects, their furniture is actually planned for FY 26 replacement of that. So in FY 25, we're only looking at replacing some tower batteries. And they did decide to request to double that in FY 25, the effort that they had previously planned. So the original project was going to be 20,000 and now it's 40,000, but Lexington's share is still just around 7,600.
Thank you, Jen. Any questions from council? Now, staff's been working on this, and the budget calendar has us considering this. Don't know if there are any observations or welcome a motion.
I make a motion that we approve the FY 25 budget and FY 25 through 29 CIP.
Have a motion and a chorus of seconds. Any discussion?
Thank you, Jen. Did a great job for incorporating all of our changes or questions and everything. And hopefully we continue watching what comes out of Richmond and it works to our favor, both for the schools and the city. But thank you very much. And Jim, congrats on your final budget.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Jen. Have a motion and a second to ask for a roll call vote. Mr. Ziegler.
Aye.
Mr. Alligood.
Aye.
Ms. Strawn.
Aye.
Mr. Smith.
Aye.
Mr. Betts.
Aye.
Ms. Alexander.
Aye.
The motion carries unanimously. And on behalf of a grateful city, thank you for the organization of the budget and the thoughtful details, and look forward to seeing how things unravel and progress in 2025. Next item is consideration of request from Echelon Resources for real estate tax abatement. And that is just a placeholder. Anticipate we'll have a follow-up meeting of our appointed committee of Mr. Sigler and Ms. Strawn to meet with Echelon next week with follow-up questions. And we will I anticipate that we will have it on our agenda for the first meeting in May to address and consider.
I guess just to give people just a brief
Sure, welcome.
update. You know, we've met twice. We're going to meet again on Monday. At this point, we're just trying to understand the process of how they work with Virginia Housing and what the requirements are. They have applied for a pre-development loan, and they're hoping to get that in May. And that work will really kind of tell them how the process will go. It's somewhat of a feasibility study for the project. So at this point, we're just learning more information.
Thank you, ma'am. Next item is reports and commissions. Blue Ridge Resource Authority, Mr. Smith.
Blue Ridge Resource Authority, I was not present at our last meeting, but I wanted to pass on some news from our director, Dudley, our new compactor. Bear with me a second here. Our new compactor has been delivered and placed into service. And like I mentioned, it has a GPS system, so the operator knows where it precisely is while it's undergoing compaction. On the working face, the report appears that the new machine is already increasing our compaction, which as a result will increase the lifespan of the landfill. The second part is part of financing that piece of equipment. It looks like we're going through some VRA financing, which will eventually require a support letter of that process from the members of the authority, that being the County Rock Bridge and City of Lexington. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Any questions for Mr. Smith? Hearing none, Main Street Lexington, Mr. Smith.
Main Street Lexington applied for and was awarded $3,000 from the Washington League Community Grant Program. This money will fund the signs and awnings grant program, which was running low on funding. Main Street has awarded $2,400 to 5 businesses last year. Spring sidewalk sale is next Friday through Sunday, April 26th through 28th. And we're well on our way to planning Rock the Bridge for David on Saturday, June 8th.
Terrific.
That's all I have.
Thank you, sir. Planning Commission, Ms. Strawn.
Planning Commission met on Thursday, April 11th. A request was granted to defer conditional use permit 2024-02, an application by John Adamson of Rockbridge Partners LLC to renew a conditional use permit allowing a portion of the building located at 2 South Main Street to be used as an assembly hall, and it will be deferred until May 23rd. For that, some new information has come in. The planning department looking at the deed for the property. Originally, when they signed that deed with Rockbridge County, they were required to make that one room a public meeting space. And it really, reading the deed, it was really meant more for the city and the county to use and any of our groups. But they have been very nice to let different groups use that. They plan on still continuing that, so they need to get a conditional use permit. However, now with the work going on around it that Main Street is doing to enhance the courtyard square, he's just hoping that maybe that'll expand to include all of the property around. And he just wants to understand that project, how it fits together with the deed, just to see if there's anything else that needs to be done when he comes for a conditional use permit. So there's no real problem, but he'd like a little time to look at it so he can put everything together and make sure there's coordination of all the things going on. And then the Planning Commission drafted an ordinance to allow food trucks in the parks and open space zones, specifically in George Point Park and the Brubaker Complex, if they have a permit from the city to operate. And the Planning Commission will hold a public hearing on this ordinance on April 25th. And that's all I have, unless there's any questions.
Relative to that, is it's going to be limited to Brubaker and Jordan's Point?
Right,
Okay.
yes. And they still have to, like I said, get a permit
Register.
from the city, right?
Business license, the whole,
That and just a permit to go into the parks at certain times. So just say, for instance, the pool didn't want a food truck there while they're running the concession stand, the city manager's office would have the ability to limit the permit.
And were those two chosen because they're more like recreation areas and much
Exactly,
larger?
right. We were trying to keep them out of the neighborhoods, like Richardson Park, for example, or Taylor Street Park. Right. And so those we felt like they could get off the street and it wouldn't be disruptive to the neighborhoods around them.
They could still park on the street around Richardson like they do for Juneteenth?
That's for a special event. So yes, but they could not just come down during the day and park there. Right. If we had allowed them to do it at any parks and open space, that could have been a possibility, but it's just limited to Jordan's Point Park in Brubaker.
and just drilling down too far, they may get a permit to go on a Saturday.
Mhm.
And if there's a lacrosse tournament, great. If nobody shows up, they just have their permit and they can hang out there.
Right.
Okay. It's not event driven as you're talking.
Right. This is not, yes.
Gotcha.
We have other rules that allow it specifically for events, but right. This is
Will,
what
will
we're
they
on.
have to apply for a permit on each occasion that they go, like each day? Is
No,
it
the idea is for an annual permit.
an annual
Right.
permit?
That sets limits.
I guess my question would be though, if it's an annual permit, how would, because you mentioned that there could be limitation on the concession stands or something like that. How would you do that if it was an annual permit? You just wouldn't have it at that time of day or something like that?
Right. Or you might say, well, the pool is in operation. You can't park around the pool
Okay.
area, something like that.
Okay.
I mean, the idea is, yes, you can operate Monday through Friday,
But there's certain, you can
yes,
limit it. Okay.
right. The main thing was we just wanted to go through the permitting process to make sure the city's aware of what's going on, and if anything comes up, they can limit it.
Does the planning commission envision any plan to open up the permit process for food trucks for other areas of the city?
We already have an ordinance in place that allows it in the commercial areas. And there are certain restrictions about how close you can be to a restaurant. So that actually can happen already. And in talking with Arnie, we did that a couple of years ago. And I think we only have one food truck that is currently permitted in the city. So it'd be nice if we can get some more food trucks and maybe have Food Truck Thursday down at Jordan's Point Park or something like that.
Ever interesting. Thank you for that report. Regional Tourism Board, Mr. Betts.
Yes, sir. The Lexington Green Book marker dedication and ribbon cutting ceremony took place at the Visitor Center today, and it was a well-attended event. Tourism participated in a Shenandoah Valley marketing blitz at the Clearbrook Welcome Center in March. There was the potential to reach over 4,000 visitors at that event. Tourism updated its presence at the Virginia Horse Center's stable office. New literature racks and lids were installed to keep the materials clean. Updated tourism materials were added to the racks. Spring marketing efforts began with ads in the 2024 Virginia Travel Guide, 2024 Richmond Travel Guide, Blue Ridge County Magazine Travel Guide, and Roanoke Magazine's March-April issue. There will be a meeting on May 1st between the Chamber of Commerce, Rockbridge Economic Development, the Virginia Horse Center, Tourism, and area hotels at the Hampton Inn. The Chessie Trail received second place for Best Recreational Trail in the USA, today's 10 Best Reader's Choice Awards. A potential facilities needs assessment is being discussed with AECom. The mounted unit will make its debut on April 27th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m.
Lots going on. Wonderful.
Where's the mountain unit making their debut?
I think there was some mention of Hopkins Green.
Okay.
April 27th.
April 27th.
Week from Saturday. Terrific. Raro, Mr. Ziegler.
Just that spring sports are in full swing right now. Softball, baseball, volleyball will start May 15th, a few nights a week based on ages at the high school. I think River Runners is going right now, and then stay tuned to look for dates for signing up for our kind of our adventure programs that we want to offer this summer, like we did last summer of the kayaking and backpacking and potentially opportunities for adults to do things. And of course, the softball leagues are being advertised right now. I think we've got 2 softball leagues, kind of a different levels of intensity, if you will, to try to suit everyone with our different leagues. That's my report.
Thank you, sir. Any questions, Mr. Ziegler?
David, is there any reason why Raro doesn't use the field at Lilburn or the gym at Lilburn?
You know, I mean, the field at Lilburn, I feel like that's essentially it's not a dirt infield anymore as far as the backstop is concerned. And then with it being used as a soccer field, you know, that's right now where I think LDMS's team practices some, Rockbridge United practices there some. But it has not been, we've been fortunate that the fields that we have at Jordan's Point for soccer and of course at Brubaker is really meets our needs right now. That's a good question. And as far as the gym, I feel like LDMS, you know, during basketball season, LDMS with volleyball and basketball, they're definitely using it the most. So
I do.
Threshold, Miss Alexander.
No report.
Maury Service Authority, Mr. Alligood.
Basically, no report, but next week, Tuesday, the 23rd, will be the regular monthly board meeting for the MSA, and it'll be at 5 o'clock at the water treatment plant. Public is invited. And I can assure you, there'll be some serious financial issues discussed at that meeting. End of report.
Thank you, sir. We'll mark our calendars for that stimulating event. For my report, I just have a couple of items. I want to piggyback on Mr. Bett's report and uplift Janie and Marilyn in particular, and all of Public Works for the work that they did for the dedications today. Recognizing Evergreen Cemetery, the Green Book, and the work that HLF, led by D. Joyce Hayes, and Historic Lexington have done to really bring awareness, educate us on some of the finer points of our community that have been neglected over the years. So congratulations for a beautiful day and a great event honoring those that have come before us. Also wanted to highlight Ms. Alexander and Mr. Smith and I did not have an illegal meeting, but we did attend the Maury River Alliance meeting in Rockbridge Baths on, is that Tuesday, I believe? Where we heard from DEQ and DCR and some concerned citizens about the water quality of the Maury River upstream and why we should be concerned about it. And I thought it was a fantastic meeting. It was great to learn that DCR has a list of recommendations for the Boy Scout camp, and DEQ has conflicting directions of how to manage the dam properly. One says, don't ever open it, sediment will never release. The other says, you got to open it to let water flow and have sediment release. So it was nice to see that we have state government working diligently in conflict with one another as the locals who utilize the stream for recreation seeking to find a resolution to the sediment and the issues that are making the stream sicker, if you will, or sick. I think it was a great first step and applaud the folks that put that together. Too many to name, but look forward to their continued progress as neighbors working together to solve the problems, to stay focused on the goal of having a healthy Moore River. Of course, we do our water intake off the Moore River, so we have a vested interest here in the city of Lexington. Someone did ask me, you live in Lexington, what are you doing here? So for those, I enlightened them as I am you all tonight. Two other by the ways, if you will. Monday, we had our meeting at the Central Shenandoah Planning District Commission. We welcomed Ann Cundy, who is the new executive director there, starting her tenure. She's been with the PDC for a little over 10 years as a transportation manager, and excited for the future with her leadership. But my grave disappointment was celebrating and honoring Rita Whitfield, who's a Rockbridge County native and first worked at a sewing factory in Fairfield. And she was elevated to the position of manager, and she hated it. And she left and joined the PDC 46 years ago. She's now 52 and she's retiring. But it was neat to, it's an unbelievable amount of institutional knowledge and glue that holds the PDC together, but wanted to take a point of personal privilege and recognize her to all of you and to our community for a bit of an unsung hero who's done a great job, again, for 46 years at the Planning District Commission. And lastly, when I first started on council, there was a young lady with a twinkle in her eye who wants to be the next Katie Kirk that was at Washington Lee operating the Rockbridge Report. And I'm thrilled and excited to alert you that Kaylee Hartung has been nominated for an Emmy for her work in the sports field. So along the lines of, forgetting all the names now, but she's in the big leagues and doing a great job and being recognized for her great work. So congratulations to Kaylee, who was just back in Lexington last month, speaking to some classes at Washington Lee, and was seen downtown out and about enjoying the finer points of Lexington. And with that, unless you have any questions, I will turn it over to the city manager. I'll get to that. I was going to do that after. Oh, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A few updates from Public Works. Weather permitting paving will begin April 30th at Jordan's Point Park, and that will consist of the parking lot where the restroom and the Gold Star Memorial are located. And just after the bridge over the mill race, there's some parking to the right-hand side. We've sort of put up some new guardrail at that location, so that'll all be paved, as well as a path on the downstream section of the park, so it'll be handicap accessible. There's a little pathway that'll be paved in that area as well. DCR, Conservation and Recreation, has awarded a $45,475 grant to the city to complete mapping of the city's stormwater infrastructure and drainage ways within the city. And this is a dollar-for-dollar matching grant through the Community Flood Prevention Fund. So we've been doing work, as you know, over the years, trying to figure out what we've got underground with regard to our stormwater system. And some of the more recent culverts and pipes we have records for, and some of those, like in downtown, we have no idea what's under the street because it's been there for so long. Either records have just disappeared or they were really never kept in detail. So we're going to figure out what we've got, and that'll allow us to continue to make improvements, maintain the system in the years to come. From the fire department, the old ladder truck has finally been sold. A department in Moulton, Alabama came in. They provided us with $60,000. The chief came up with his crews and they drove it back home to their department earlier this week. The department responded to a second carbon dioxide leak in a local restaurant. And as a result of this leak, the fire marshal did provide a notice of violation, and they have to take corrective actions. CO2, as in any gas, in appropriate amounts will deprive you of oxygen. So it's a safety concern, and that restaurant will have to take actions to correct that problem. The department staff provided 2 days of CPR and first aid training to the Lexington Public Works crews. They are hosting the Rockbridge County High School students who are in the EMT class. As part of the requirements for that class, they have to ride along in ambulances and see how EMTs deliver services on actual ambulances. So they'll be here with us for some point in time. Chief Dickerson has been busy participating in the Regional Fire and Rescue Association meeting and the 911 fire and rescue meetings. The department responded to a sizable hydraulic leak on South Main and East Preston Street earlier this week. They were there to monitor to be sure all the materials were removed or the fluids were removed from the street while crews came in to again take it off the street. Happened to be at Nico's at that time and saw the fire department, the police block the street, and the emergencies crews come in and put down the absorbent compounds that take it off the street. And it was all exciting, of course, to see crews in action. A few things from the police department. Both cadets Aiden Nicely and Cadet Coleman are leaving the department because they've accepted positions in law enforcement. Aiden Nicely has accepted a position at Washington Lee Public Safety, and Jordan Coleman has accepted a position with the Virginia State Police. And obviously that's really good news, shows that the training they've received is well received. And it's wonderful to be able to send them on their way, even though they will be missed at the department. We'll have to try and hire some new cadets to train and provide services to the community. Enhanced traffic patrols continue on Ross Road and McCorkle Lane with no violations being issued in the most recent period. Detective Lewis attended advanced investigation training. Department personnel assisted with the emergency drills at both Waddell Elementary School and Lilburn Downing Middle School. Sergeant Lombardi and Corporal Stogdale were sworn in as drug task force officers in our local regional drug task force, and 27 hours of foot patrol occurred throughout the city in the most recent period. Our master meter MOU that has been in place is now revised with Washington Lee and been agreed to. So we will start billing from that master meter as soon as we can arrange that. And the agreement with VMI is still under review, and we're seeking, to have that agreement signed as well with our partners at VMI. The North Main Street project that has been waiting in the wings for 5 years or more is rumored to be starting this coming fall. And again, with our partners, Washington Lee and VMI, we've provided input to our local VDOT residency that let's have that project start as soon as possible, which again means it may start in the fall. And the patience and cooperation of VMI and Washington Lee is going to be greatly tested, I suspect, over the months to come, because so many activities will potentially be disrupted in that area. It's probably about a 12 to 15 month process. So whether it's a fall or spring activity, we won't be able to avoid it. Washington Lee and VMI in particular won't be able to avoid some of those disruptions that will occur. We have also notified our contracting engineering and architectural engineers that Thompson Litton, that they should proceed with the design and architectural specifications for the DSS facility, so that project can go to bid as soon as possible. On behalf of City Council, Buena Vista City Council, and the Rockbridge County Board of Supervisors, that working group have reached agreement to move forward. I've been working with a firm, Taxing Authority and Consulting Services, and the city attorney to put in place services so that we could collect from severely delinquent properties that have not paid their real estate taxes. Work with the city treasurer and the finance director to go ahead and implement that and put that agreement in place. Being a contract, if you will, an agreement with an attorney's firm, we don't need to go through the what am I talking about? Procurement. Thank you, sir. Procurement process. However, they do have contracts with some other local cities. I say local, but local governments, some cities and counties. So we could put them under contract with that, but we don't have to go through the procurement process. Once again, I'd like to just say thank you to City Council for your support and leadership the number of years I've been with you, and for the kind comments you made earlier. So it's been a wonderful time, and thank you again. Mr. Mayor, that's all I have, unless there are any questions from City Council.
I have one question. We originally had a work session scheduled for next Wednesday to talk about DSS, I believe. Has that been canceled or is that?
That was the regional dinner and that has been canceled. Yes.
Thank
That's right. You've been reclaimed your Wednesday night.
On
Thank you
the,
for asking.
that was on the 24th,
Correct.
canceled.
We will hope to get further briefing on the progress, perhaps collaboratively. And Jim, you're scheduled as we celebrate your retirement this evening and your conclusion of work for the city on April 30th, effective May 1st. We need someone to backstop for in your position until Tom arrives. And so as we've discussed prior I've discussed prior with council, the appointment of Jennifer Bell as the interim city manager effective February 1st until Tom Carroll. I'm sorry, May 1st. I wrote down May 1st. I'm just so excited about appointing the prospects of appointing Jen effective May 1st, 2024 until Tom Carroll reports to work. And would ask for council's consideration and a roll call vote.
Make a motion that we appoint Jennifer Bell as interim city manager effective 1 May until Mr. Carroll arrives and is appointed city manager.
Second.
Have a motion, a second, any discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote. Mr. Smith.
Aye.
Mr. Alligood.
Aye.
Mr. Ziegler.
Aye.
Ms. Strong.
Aye.
Mr. Betts.
Aye.
Ms. Alexander.
Hi.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you all very much. And Jen, thank you in advance for your additional duties. City Attorney's report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Very briefly, I had a phone call with the new Rockbridge County Attorney, John Dryden, and just wanted to, y'all are probably aware of this. I know Jim is. There is a move afoot to modify the agreements associated with the Maury Service Authority. And John is going to take a look at them and edit them and then get them to me to take a look at them. And then they'll, of course, come to City Council for review as well. But it's amending the articles of incorporation and the bylaws and making some adjustments. Jim and I have talked about it, and he's given me some of his insights as to what he would like to see changed. And I know he and Spencer have talked about it. But that is something that'll come across my desk in the coming weeks, and then eventually we'll come to City Council to let you take a look at the edits and see what you think of. Other than that, I just would like to join the chorus of congratulations for Jim. I've had the good fortune of knowing and working with Jim for, gosh, I don't even know how long, Jim. Well, a good bit over a decade, I guess. I've probably known him longer than most everybody here but Deb. He's a friend. He's a professional colleague. He is always very professional in what he does. Everyone who he's worked with, staff, have always enjoyed working with him and appreciated him. I know I have, and I do wish you the best and congratulations. Other than that, happy to answer any questions.
Members of council have any questions for the attorney? Very good. Hearing none, next item is new business, consideration of resolution reaffirming the participation of the city of Lexington in a regional program to serve vulnerable youth. It's in your packet, and I'll call on the city manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think all of you are probably familiar with the Virginia Juvenile Community Crime Control Act program, been in effect here in the city for a number of years as a regional program with our neighbors, City of Buena Vista and Covington, as well as Rockbridge County and this county of Botetourt and Allegheny. This agreement, in fact, was reaffirmed here at City Council just recently because the state is now administering the program as opposed to Lexington, who used to administer it. We still are the fiscal agent. Most recently, the counties of Craig and Bath would like to join the regional program. And this basically is just consenting, if you will, to allowing them to join the program. There are no negative financial implications. It will make administering the program for both us, Craig County and Bath County, easier. As a matter of fact, they often have state funds that are provided to them that they don't use because they don't have, children in that case, in many cases that need the services that often are needed in some of our other local jurisdictions. So I would recommend that the resolution that's provided be approved by city council just to reaffirm that we will participate in this regional organizational and program.
Thank you, Jim.
I make a motion that we approve resolution 2024-05 regarding participation in a combined juvenile community crime control act program.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? And just to confirm, are we still a fiscal agent or?
Yes, we remain the fiscal agent.
Thank you, sir. Roll call vote. Mr. Betts.
Aye.
Mr. Ziegler.
Aye.
Ms. Strong.
Aye.
Mr. Alligood.
Aye.
Mr. Smith.
Aye.
Ms. Alexander.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. The next item we have is ask Ms. Alexander to read us into a closed meeting. And that will be detailed when she reads it as to what we're going in for. I do not anticipate council will be taking any action afterwards, but greatly appreciate you all being here, especially you, Deb, for Jim's, the first time you've seen Jim in action, as I understand. So thank you for being with us. Thank you for sharing Jim with us, and especially these last few months when he's set to retire last fall and you agreed to let him stay on. We hope you have wonderful travels and a great time in Europe. With that, Ms. Alexander.
I move that Lexington City Council convene in closed meeting pursuant to Virginia Code 2.2-3711A8 for the purpose of consultation with legal counsel retained by City Council regarding specific legal matters requiring the provision of legal advice. I've made the motion. I need a second. Thank you, Mr. Alligood. And we are now going into a closed meeting. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Ms. Strong?
Aye.
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Siegler?
Aye.
Mr. Betts?
Aye.
Mr. Alligood?
Aye.
Mayor Friedman? Aye. And I vote aye. I was in a hurry.